I never thought about what it is that I want to do except write. I guess I never stopped to think what I wanted to do. I knew that technology was something I enjoyed using, enjoyed discovering. I never studied computer science.
Who named Catalyst Labs? Like, what's the story behind it? I loved the name when I heard it.
So I think sometimes it's a passion for knowing what technology can do, which is more important than actually creating it. I would walk into a room at an event and there were 100 men and just me.
Oh,
I think I will be successful if I can change the life of one person.
entrepreneurship is often romanticized, something.
I'm guilty of romanticizing it for many years. It's unfortunate that in Pakistan, failure is considered a negative thing.
Yeah, true.
You know, a lot of people hold events where they don't invite younger people. If you don't try, it's just like you're depriving yourself of an opportunity.
Hi everyone, Assalamu alaikum. This is Mariam Jamal and welcome to another episode of Founder Interview Series by Women Entrepreneurs of Asia. Today we have the honor of sitting with one of the most respected names in Pakistan's tech and startup ecosystem. She is not only a mentor or an entrepreneur, she is a change maker. She has helped hundreds of startups through the initiatives like the Nest IO. She is the founder of Catalyst Labs. Please welcome Jahara. Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
Walaikum assalam. How are you?
I am good. कैसी हैं आप?
अल्लाह का शुक्र है गला थोड़ा ख़राब है तो अगर खांस लूँ तो कभी-कभी तो प्लीज़ डोंट माइंड.
That's completely fine. Thank you so much for coming over here and taking time for us.
It's a great pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, so let's begin with your journey.
Okay.
Your early education. I would like to know what were the thoughts in the initial days, and then how did it change into entrepreneurial journey? Like what made you step into the startup ecosystem when very less women were visible in this space at that time?
So I was born in Karachi, but my father moved to Hong Kong when I was very small. So my early education up to class 8 was in Hong Kong. And then we moved back here for a few years. And then we moved to the UAE for a few years. So I was all over the place. I never thought about what it is that I want to do uh, except write. I've always loved to write.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
my first job was as a writer for a publication in Hong Kong. And then even in the UAE, I wrote for a magazine and also wrote a little bit for the Gulf News there,
Oh, wow.
although I was in the advertising department. But they said, okay, if you join advertising and you do well, then we will let you write. So
Okay.
that was a hook. So I did that. When I came back to Pakistan, I started along with Zahir Khidwai, whom many people know very well. We started a tech company, a multimedia company. And the whole idea was to try and get people to use technology um, to market their services. At that time, nobody did. I'm talking about the early 90s. And but nobody would listen. Like the large companies didn't think tech was for them.
Yeah.
So then we said, okay, we will do it and we will show them how it's done.
Okay.
So we did all sorts of things. We did something for ABN AMRO Bank. We developed a DVD on Faiz Ahmed Faiz, which was like a 7-hour DVD on his journey. It included 30 of his poems in his own voice. It was just amazing. We all loved doing the work. By then, Sabine Mahmood had joined us. She was studying at Connect College and then she had come to Karachi. She joined us. And Zach's wife, Nushat, had joined us. So this was a very small team of people who produced some of the greatest creative tech stuff in the country at that time. Of course, now there are so many people who are doing so many things. So that was what I guess I never stopped to think what I wanted to do. I knew that technology was something I enjoyed using, enjoyed discovering. I never studied computer science, which is strange because I went on to lead the IT Association for 20 years.
Oh, this was about to be my another question. Then your early education was nothing related to the tech.
No.
So how did this happen, and this transformation?
So I think sometimes it's a passion for knowing what technology can do, which is more important than actually creating it. So I love the people who created and developed technology products. I love to promote them. And I wanted to see what else people could do. And so when I joined Pasha as the president of the organization, I went all over the country to discover young people who were doing so many brilliant things, and I would talk about them. Also, we wanted to encourage more people to come into technology. And so, and especially women, there were not enough women. I would walk into a room at an event and there were 100 women, 100 men, and just me.
Just oh,
So that was something I didn't like. It was uncomfortable because I felt, why? Why not
I know.
any women? It's not that women are any less capable or understand technology any less, but they were being discouraged from pursuing this as a career. So that's why I got into that. And then uh, while at Pasha, we ran quite a few initiatives that helped or encouraged startups to start their own businesses. And then here we are.
Wonderful, wonderful. So as you have worn many hats, mentor, entrepreneur, writer, ecosystem builder, I'd say. So tell us the reason behind your success. Like, as most people know your contributions to, of course, the tech industry, but what's that means the reason behind your success? I would like to know.
I don't know. I think you have to define success first. So for every person, success is different. Some people define success only if you make a lot of money. Some people define success if they create a lot of impact. Some people describe it in all sorts of different ways.
Hmm.
To me, it always has been, I think I will be successful if I can change the life of one person.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
And if I'm doing something that I enjoy doing. And I think in that I've been successful. At least more than one person has benefited from either taking my advice or learning something from me or just hanging out at the Nest IO or now at Catalyst Labs, coming to some of our events like 9 to Disrupt, which will happen in December, um, and Slushed, which has already happened. So the things we do and the things I try and drive are things that people will benefit from. It's not just, oh, I need to hold an event. It's why do I need to hold that event? What is the purpose? Is anyone going to benefit? Is anyone going to learn from it? What are the kind of people that I will involve in it? And so it just works out because, a lot of people hold events where they don't invite younger people. Like the speakers are all gray haired people like me. Even when the gray hair is covered up, it's still gray haired people like me. What about the younger people, the younger voices? Don't they have something to say? So at our events, especially at Slushed, it's all younger people. Other than one or two who may either be sponsoring the event or who may be investors, the rest of them are all young entrepreneurs who have either developed something, who've either grown their business, or have done something that is unique. So we give them the opportunity to be on stage and talk about it. And I think that is just wonderful because when you hear them, you're very impressed and inspired by what they're doing. They should be given more of an opportunity to speak at major events.
True. Yeah,
But I think people will learn.
yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah, people will see them for who they are and then give them the space that they need.
That's true. There's always the beginner. There's someone who lays the foundation. So I'm sure you are one of them. And people are going to
I
see
hope so.
this. Yeah, of course. We have many followers here. We always have more followers in our country. So, also tell us about the Catalyst Labs. Like, what is it doing exactly? And also, how does this platform can help a women entrepreneur? Like, for example, if a girl has an idea, so what should be the steps that she should take? Like, does she needs to go to the incubation center first, or is it the accelerator? What is the process? How is it? How does it work?
Okay, so when I left Pasha about 4 years ago, um, Pasha was running. I was running the Nest IO under the platform of Pasha.
Right.
And when I left 4 years ago, I said, okay, what do I do next? Because I've run a technology incubator and we've had hundreds of startups that have been incubated there. What next? Many new incubation facilities had opened up by then, the NICs, various others.
Yes.
And so I said, okay, there are lots of people doing this. That's great. What can I do that other people are not doing? And the answer was, hey, these companies have grown to a certain level. How can we help them to scale up, to grow into larger companies, to grow their businesses? And so Catalyst Labs primarily became a technology accelerator
All right.
to accelerate these companies to the next level.
I see.
The second thing that I wanted to do was every time that I went to an event or a conference or anything, there were only 4 or 5 women CEOs. There were very few women who were on the boards of companies. I said, why is that? Women are capable of doing anything that men are capable of doing. Some of them do them even better than men do.
Of course.
So then I said, okay, maybe they don't know themselves what they're capable of. So we started a women's leadership program. And that women's leadership program is open to any professional or woman entrepreneur who wants to join it. We haven't charged them for it. It's all for free. We've been doing it now. I think this is the 7th cohort that we're doing.
Wonderful.
So groups of 25 to 30 women from across the country. First of all, we ask them, there's a one-on-one conversation with them to find out how they reached where they have reached, what is it that they think that they're happy to do, and what has been holding them back. And then we take them through a program where we help them develop leadership skills, help them teach them financial management, which is a very weak area, not
Right.
just for women, but also for male startups, right? So these are things we teach them. And we also introduce them to women who have been there, done that. So whether it is somebody like Musharraf Hai, who was chairperson of Unilever, Seema Kamil, who was deputy governor State Bank, Maheen Rahman, various women who've been there and done it. So asking them, how did you do it? Did you face the same challenges? And they are so open in talking about what they've done, what their challenges were, how they were able to overcome it. Not only that, we also bring in men who have worked with women or who have been guided by women. So somebody like Amir Paracha, who is now chairperson of Unilever, he openly admits that the person he is today, Shazia Sayed and Musharraf Hai, were responsible for grooming him into that person.
Yes.
And that is huge. When people hear that, they say, wow, 2 women were responsible for what Amir Paracha is doing today, because he's amazing. And the kind of work he's doing is amazing. So that kind of thing, I think, helps women to see, okay, that means we could do it too. So I think those are the things we try and make sure that confidence in them comes to the fore.
True. That's true. Can you share the reason that why did you left the Nest.io and build Catalyst Lab? Because their Nest.io was also your thing.
So that was not my choice.
Okay.
I think they wanted to do something different with the Nest. I ran it for about 6.5 years. And then the board, the new Pasha board
Okay.
that came on, said that, we want to do something differently.
All right.
And so they asked me to leave. So I left.
But
I would not have left otherwise, to be honest,
I'm-
because I was thoroughly enjoying it.
I'm sure this is why I asked you this question.
Yeah, a lot of
I know.
people don't know this because I don't openly go out and tell people what it means. I don't want to be a complainer. I want to be a person. Okay, it didn't work out, so now let me try something else. And that's what I want women and men who are starting off as entrepreneurs or growing as entrepreneurs to understand. Nothing should stop you from doing what you're passionate about, what you think is important. And it's okay. The Nest.io, I wish it had carried on, that they had found someone who would run it, but they didn't, so it was shut down. And that I was sad about, because it was a brand that was well known, not just in Pakistan, but also around the world. So I'm sad about that. But otherwise, no, Catalyst Labs has been amazing.
Yeah.
The team I've had at Catalyst Labs, They change every sort of year and a half, 2 years, because those young people find so many better opportunities.
Sure.
Some of them move to Singapore, to Facebook, to Google.
No, that's
So they learn so much that they're able to then contribute to the global ecosystem. And that's just amazing.
yeah, of course. Uh, uh, who named Catalyst Labs? Like, what's the story behind it? I loved the name when I heard it.
So anytime that we name an organization, same thing happened with the Nest.io. We gathered some young entrepreneurs together and said, okay, what should we name this space? And there were hundreds of names thrown around. Let's name it this, name it that. And the Nest seemed to be just the right name.
The
And so
Nest.
we named it
Oh.
the Nest.io.
Okay.
When Catalyst Labs happened, the same thing, the team that was there, we started talking. We talked to our previous community members. So, um, people who'd been at the Nest, I call them nestlings. They are still nestlings to me,
Yeah.
and they are still part of my community. And we keep in touch. We go for meals. We sometimes go to the beach. We are a community of people who continue to meet each other, continue to help each other, continue to guide each other. And if we fail, okay, that's fine. We need a shoulder to cry on. That's fine. And sometimes, it is these nestlings who guide me and not just the other way around. Because sometimes each one of us needs help or needs someone to listen to who will not judge them. And I have that with these youngsters because they love me and they want to know that I'm happy. And that's so nice. How often do you find such people?
That's true. That's very true. Um, as we're talking about the women entrepreneurs, I would like to know that are there any projects being launched by the women entrepreneurs right now, which you would like to highlight under the Catalyst Labs?
So we're running a few programs. First of all, the Women Leadership Program, which I told you about.
Yeah.
Also, Visa as an organization has asked us to run programs for women entrepreneurs where we can help them scale into larger organizations. And we've been doing that for the last 2 years. And this year, we will again be running that program and helping these women to, we talk to them, we help them with their pitch decks. We make sure that when they go in front of um, a selected number of investors or corporates, that they can put forward the best picture that they can about their organization. A real picture, no lies. We always tell them, be honest, because people know when you're lying. There's no reason to lie. Just tell them the truth and talk about your business and where do you want to take it. And that program has worked out very well. Visa is very happy with it. We're going to continue to run it. It's called the She's Next Club program. And the best thing about this is that the women who are part of the program in each cohort then begin to form a business network. And in this country, women don't have a business network. So it's very important because they can help each other, they can guide each other. If there are opportunities, they can tell each other about it. So that's what I love about it. Our Women Leadership Program, as well as this program, women helping other women to get to the next level.
All right. So, entrepreneurship is often romanticized, something.
I'm guilty of romanticizing it for many years.
Okay, but in real, it comes with tough reality challenges.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
it comes with tough challenges. So, just mention some challenges that you faced, toughest challenges that people rarely know about.
So raising money when I started Catalyst Labs,
Okay.
um, trying to tell someone that, okay, now I'm starting this new program and I'm no longer part of this big IT association, but I want to, do something which is good for women, which is good for accelerating startups. That was a challenge. But I think your own reputation and what you do in your life comes to help you. So when we went to HBL and asked for money at that time, now HBL is no longer a supporter. They supported us for 3 years, which is the longest that any
I'm sure.
organization can
Good,
do.
of course.
We also went to somebody called the Open Society Foundation, which is based in Europe.
Oh, I see.
And we said, okay, we want to do this for women, and this is the reason, this is my background. They asked a lot of questions. It isn't easy. So I think raising money is always difficult,
Right.
especially if you are not a large organization, if you're a small setup. And I was a single member company. I have nobody on the board. I have advisory board members, but I'm the only board member. So to convince them that I would be able to do this
Right.
was difficult. But fortunately, they had faith, and I have been able to deliver on that promise. So hopefully, next time I go to someone, they won't say no or they won't hesitate, right? But that was a challenge. The second challenge was, when I was running the Nest.io, I was advising startup founders on what they should do in order to grow their businesses, all that. When I had to leave the Nest.io and start Catalyst Labs, I was starting something new. So my challenge was, have I been giving the right advice? Would I be able to do what I have suggested to them that they should do? And so it was a test for me. But fortunately, I passed the test.
Wonderful. Yeah. I'm sure I knew that you would pass the test. So you do well.
Thank you. You have more confidence than I do.
Yeah, I've been watching you from so long. I've been saying you doing some amazing work for many of us, young women and young entrepreneurs, of course. Okay, but with all these great things, sometimes it happens that many of us, many of the entrepreneurs, we face failures, and there are times that things don't work out as planned. What do you think about this such kind of situations? What should the entrepreneurs like? How should they take it through with these situations?
So I think it's unfortunate that in Pakistan, failure is considered a negative thing.
Yeah, true.
All over the world, failure is considered to be something positive.
Positive.
If you go to an investor in US or Europe and you say, "Oh, I have failed 2 or 3 times," what they will tell you is, "Oh, that means you've learned from your mistakes. And so if I invest in you, those mistakes you're not going to repeat, right?" But unfortunately, this is not true here. We have to develop that culture. And I think slowly we are doing that. So people like Jawad Ahmad Farid, who is a professor of practice at IBA, also an entrepreneur himself, has been talking about his personal failure. He wrote a whole book on failure, his own, and he shared it with a lot of young entrepreneurs, saying there's nothing wrong with that.
True.
He is a graduate of FAST, Karachi, and a graduate of Columbia Business School in the US. And he failed. So he said, "So what? I failed. I learned from it. I won't make those mistakes again." And I think such people speaking up about their failures makes it much easier for younger people to think, okay, if he can do it again, I can too. And then there are people like, you know, Samir Ahmed Khan, who runs Social Champ. He's one of our early nestlings from our first batch.
Okay.
He failed 3 times before he got this right, and Social Champ is such a huge success.
Yes.
So I think stories like that make it possible
Yeah.
for younger people to understand, okay, it's okay to fail.
To fail. True.
Yeah.
True.
So I don't think we should take it negatively.
Mm.
And this will only happen over time. Some people are a success straight off, like Azima Danji.
True.
She is, she's superhuman, I think. And she puts a lot of commitment and time into it. Her co founder, Arham, is also, they are both dedicated to the cause because it's something that they believe in. We have similar social entrepreneurs like Wonder Tree. Wonder Tree took much longer to become a success because social enterprises, people believe if you invest in them, they will take much longer to produce results. And so it takes a lot of time to convince people that this is something that they should actually put their money into. But fortunately, these young people, they don't sleep nights, they work 7 days a week, they uh, support each other, they advise each other. And if any of them needs help, the other one is coming forward and saying, "Okay, I'll help you here. Let me leave what I'm doing and support you at this stage." And then vice versa. So I think we've got such a wonderful community.
All right. So, what is what would you say the biggest achievement that you had in your career that made you jahan ara? I would say the Jahara for me.
I don't know. I've never thought about it actually.
Mhm.
Um, I don't look at things as achievements or
Mhm.
challenges or failures. I look at them. Okay, what is it that I want to do? Can I do it? Let me try it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And there are small things that don't work. One should just let them be and move on. If you dwell on it too much, then you will be depressed. You will think, nothing works. And this is unfortunate because
Yeah.
as a country, we tend to do that. That, okay, this is not working. It's just me. Why does this happen to me? No, I mean, it happens to everyone. Maybe they don't tell you about it, but I think, yeah, I think the greatest achievement any of us can have is to carry on and keep doing what one wants to do. And that's what I've always done from early on till now. I continue to write, even though not officially for newspapers or anybody like that, but I write on my blog. I've now started a podcast like you. And that's because I love talking to people and I love sharing the adventures that people have, the kind of things that they're doing. So that's why I decided to start a podcast. And most of the people on my podcast will be younger people. Although I started with influencers, you have to drive the audience to yourself. And I told them, I'm hearing you.
You already got such a big following.
No, no, but
Oh,
the podcast needed,
yeah.
it's called Candid Conversations.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it already.
Yeah, so I told these influencers that, look, I'm using you to draw an audience to myself, and then I'm going to go
Bring
after
it, bring it on.
and then I'll go after younger entrepreneurs. So yeah, I'm enjoying that. Um, the events we do, the podcast, talking to people, mentoring young people. It's what I enjoy, and I think if I can continue to do more of that, it'll be great. Then people are suggesting I should write a book, although that's not easy. That is a difficult
You're
thing.
a writer. You can do it.
No, but writing and then writing a book
Book?
are two different things.
I can.
But I might try it. I don't know. Thinking about it.
I can help you with it if you would ever.
Okay.
If you
Sure.
we
Have you written a book?
Not yet. Not yet. But what we've
We can all work together on right. Jawad Farid has written several books and he's willing to help as well. So hopefully.
I've done work like you, like writing stories, little stories and all that for the newspaper.
That's how you
I've done
start.
that.
Yeah, that's how you start.
Yeah.
And then eventually maybe you all put them all together and form a book.
Oh,
That's
that's a good
also
idea. We can form a book like this one, putting all the stories together.
yeah,
All right.
good idea.
Okay, so as you have made spaces like the Nest.io, Catalyst Labs, and nurtured hundreds of startups and worked with many young entrepreneurs. So, what's that one trait you have found in an entrepreneur? Like one trait that you've seen that's found most to be in the entrepreneurs.
I think that most of them who have achieved anything, they have a passion for doing something to make a difference
Mm.
and then working on it. So even if they fail multiple times,
Mm.
they know that eventually that's the target and I should continue to go after it. So persistence is definitely number one. The ability to work with a team of people, not to take credit for everything that the startup does. Make sure that everybody shares in that win.
When
I think those are things that I've seen successful entrepreneurs do. They share in the glory, and if there is a failure, they take it upon themselves. And that's important. That shows that that person is somebody with confidence, with integrity, that wants to take people along.
right. Um, are you satisfied with the startup growth ecosystem in Pakistan currently? Like we've seen many of the startups, they've raised investments, and some did well and some couldn't, of course. So, what do you think? Like, how where do you find us now? If you compare us to like 10 years before, and like what are the gaps that you still see that? we need to fill it out?
So I think this startup ecosystem is growing, and there are many more people who are involved as mentors. There are people who are investors. There are people from outside of Pakistan who are looking at us not just as startup founders or startup companies, but also as a consumer base. So it is growing, but it has slowed down. I think partly due to COVID, it had slowed down,
So
partly due to the political climate, also some of the policies that weren't in place. But now I think we are back on track. And so we will continue to grow. And I think a lot of people are helping to make it happen. And that's why we should all collaborate and work together to make sure that it grows, people know about the successful companies, and also if there are failures, help those founders to come out of those failures and then go and do whatever they want, whether it's to join another startup, whether it is to create a startup for themselves. But investment is not the only thing. Unfortunately, we've hyped up investment so much that we forget that the whole idea of a startup is to start a business, grow that business, make sure that you have enough people that you employ, and then, yes, of course, raise investment in order to scale it. But I think very often it has started with, okay, how do I get the money? Nobody's going to give you money until you get to a certain stage and you have customers and they can see that you're on track. They won't give you money.
Okay, so Jahan, can you tell us like the small business women owners, the home-based business women owners, of course, I'd say, uh, how can they be reached out, or how can this awareness be created in them? How can they be helped in all this system? Like, can they reach out these accelerators or the incubation centers, and can can this system be any of help for them, like, because of course many of them don't know how to do it and where to go, where to start from. They are actually running their businesses through the social media platforms, but they are also unable to scale it. So what can be done for them?
So there are people who are working on it. There are women who come to us sometimes and say, "Can you help guide us? This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
How do we grow it?" Then Nadia Patel
Yes,
Ganji
Nadia.
had started an initiative, which I think she's continuing, where she helped very young companies, women-owned companies,
Mhm.
to grow, to actually sell to a larger base of people. And I think what Nadia did, Nadia was also part of our first cohort at the Nest.io.
Oh.
And what she has done, I think, is amazing. She has inspired, first of all, so many women. And also, she has helped a lot of women owners, including off the platform of Meta and now Google. So I think people like that. And also, all the incubators run sessions where they invite people. So they open up the platform to anyone. If you are a home-based chef, or you've started a company selling clothes or whatever it is from your house, you can come and you can learn how to grow that company. And then there are mentors available. If you go to them, set up a time, they are willing to help you. So I think there are opportunities, but you have to reach out. Unfortunately, many women say that, we're afraid to reach out. What if they say no? So if they say no, forget it, go to somebody else.
Yes.
We should not be afraid to reach out, because unless we do, then there is no opportunity. And then ask for help from amongst all the other women who are running businesses. They will help you too.
True, that's right. That's absolutely right. Okay, so I would like to have this quick fire round with you. It's not a rapid fire. I always tell my guests it's not a rapid fire of Karan Johar, but this is a quick fire. One word that defines you.
Never give up. I don't think that's one word, but anyway,
Tea or coffee?
coffee.
Oh. Your go-to productivity hack.
Oh, I don't know what that is. Just continue working, be persistent, get up early.
Favorite Pakistani startup right now?
No, I can't beat this.
I don't know whether that'd be a good question to ask
It
or
would
not.
break a lot of hearts.
Oh, that's okay. Let's skip this one.
Yeah.
Okay, if you weren't in tech, what would you be doing?
I would be writing.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
One thing you cannot start your day without.
Coffee.
Ooh. Facebook or LinkedIn?
LinkedIn.
What
I
happened?
also use Facebook a lot, so I can't say Instagram too. So social media of any form, I'm just
Twitter?
Twitter.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, okay, okay. Okay, one habit that contributed most to your success.
I think rising early,
Mm-hmm.
discipline, making sure that uh, things that I did were done on a daily basis at the right time. So when you asked about the productivity hack, I think one of the things is I go to the office, I make a list of what I'm going to do today, and I make sure that I achieve all that is on my list and more.
Mm.
So I think that kind of discipline
Yeah.
is something that I learned during my years in Hong Kong. The Chinese are very disciplined and they are always on time. So those are things I think that have led to anything that I have done well. It's because I have followed those rules.
Great. Your guilty pleasure.
It's just coffee.
All right, wonderful. Okay, so what's that first thing that you notice in a startup pitch?
The confidence and also whether they have belief in what they're doing.
Vision, maybe. Yeah. One advice you'd give to your 20-year-old self.
I would not dare give any advice. I don't even know what I was doing at 20. Nowadays, young people are doing so much in their 20s. I don't know. I think I was very much a child at 20 and not really sure of what I was going to do. I was just doing anything that I enjoyed. So I wouldn't try and give advice to my 20-year-old. Probably a lot of 20-year-olds have gone well past that.
Mm. Okay, now I want you to bust myth about entrepreneurs that people believe.
People believe that if you start your own company, you are an entrepreneur, you will have to work 4 or 5 hours a day and you get to do whatever you like at whatever time you like. Not at all.
True.
When you start your own company, you work 24 hours a day
Mm.
and you do not sleep if that's what's
Yes,
required.
yes.
So it is much harder to be an entrepreneur than it is to be a professional in an organization. And I think people find that out once they start their own companies
Yeah.
because it's your company. You have to do whatever needs to be done to be successful.
True, true.
Yeah.
I
So
think
that's a myth that I think a lot of young people have when they start their own company, thinking, oh, if I don't want to get up, I won't get up today.
yeah.
Mondays, I will just sleep, and maybe I'll put in 2 hours on a Tuesday and 5 hours on a Wednesday. But no,
Mm.
you have to work
You have
and constantly. And once then, when you're successful, you want to hire a CEO and then you just want to watch the company grow. That's different. But early years, not at
difficult,
all.
very difficult. As I said, entrepreneurship is romanticized.
Yes. And as I said, many of us have romanticized.
Right, right, right. Okay. So to end this, I would like you to share one book, one habit, and one belief that every entrepreneur should build.
One book, The Lean Startup.
Okay.
I think that is something that everybody should read. One habit, please get up early and start work early.
Okay, wonderful. And one belief that every entrepreneur should build.
The belief that if it's worth doing, do it well. Otherwise, don't do it. Don't get into it.
Any advice you want to share with our young women entrepreneurs who are uh, planning to build something or they want to build something that would create impact?
Go ahead and do it. Don't let anyone stop you. Because it's only if you try that you will know whether it can be done. If it can't be done, fine, you'll fail, then try something else. But don't be scared to try. I think that is both for women as well as men. If you don't try, it's just like you're depriving yourself of an opportunity.
Jaha, we have some presents for you. They are
Oh,
by
how nice.
they are by our official gift sponsors, Dabur and Vatika. And you guys should also use Vatika because it has all natural ingredients. Thank you so much, Jaha, for sharing your journey, your wisdom, incredible wisdom, and your challenges with us today. Your story is actually it's a true inspiration, not for only women entrepreneurs, I'd say, also for the for many of us, all those people who are trying to create impact. So, of course, to my people, Please, if you have an idea, start over. Don't stop. This is the key takeaway today from Jaha. So work on it. Keep watching us. Keep building, keep shining, keep creating an impact, and keep leading with heart. This is Mariam from Women Entrepreneurs of Asia. Thank you so much. Until next time. Allah Hafiz.